Hey, what's up guys? My name is Essen and welcome back to another episode of Livon. So today I'm kind of gonna want to explain my thoughts about the new crafting system. I know I've been telling a little bit about it in some videos. Yesterday's case unboxing video I was kind of ranty, I didn't really like the system, but in this video I'm gonna kind of give all of my opinions, all of the things that I have to say about the craft system. So I kind of want to start with telling that I think there are four groups of people really. So first off you have the newbies who've only been playing for a couple days or weeks. They don't really have that many cards. The cards they have are probably irons, leads and a couple bronzes. Maybe if they're lucky, you know, they have the free gold. But usually they don't really have that many cards. Then you have the veterans and the paying customers that have a lot of high rarity cards, either by buying them for the ridiculous prices before the update with, of course, the much lower chances of getting golds, or the veterans who have got a lot of high rarity cards by spending insane amounts of credits by doing the trade ups and kind of saving up for the cobalt trade up, only to find out that there's a amazing update. They will have to pay not only 3 more golds, well over 3 actually, because you need 9.4 golds for a single cobalt, but they also need to pay another 40,000 credits. Then you have the third group, which they don't really care at all about the skins, they just want to play the game. They are fine with the bronzes if they have 3 augments and their preferred weapon. And then you have the final group, which I think is just totally retarded. The people who say that the game isn't about skins. Well, I think a lot of people actually get a great amount of joy out of collecting the higher cards. I know I do. I have a lot of fun just collecting, trading up, unboxing high rarity cards. I mean, I have to love that because I've spent an insane amount of money just on premium cases. So I know there are a lot of people similar to me. But you also have in this group the people who say you can't complain because it's a free-to-play game. Free-to-play games apparently can be criticized because they're free and you should just be fine with it. I, like many, have spent insane amounts of money, so I wouldn't see this as a free-to-play game, but just I'm really a paying customer and there are a lot of people similar to me. I held a survey and actually a surprisingly big amount of the people that entered the survey actually bought premium cases. Also, kind of part of this group are the people that say you can't complain because the game is still in open beta. It has been for over a year now. And I think usually this is fine. If this game was still at a price of 20 bucks, like in the closed beta, then it would be totally fine if it didn't have the in-game store where you can buy stuff with real life money and currently for an insanely high price as well. As soon as you put that in the game, I don't really think it's a beta, it's more just, I wouldn't say full release, but very, very close to it. If your game isn't finished, don't ask insane amounts of money for items in an unfinished game. So having said all of that, I think this new system is actually pretty good for the first group, for the newbies, because they don't really have that many cards. They surely haven't paid trade-up fees before the update, so for them it is actually a really good system. They can now just go from leads and irons alone immediately to cobalt for actually fairly cheap. 50,000 credits is pretty cheap to craft a cobalt if you don't put in golds and silvers that you already have paid for the trade-up fees. So I think for them it's pretty good. So the veterans and the paying customers kind of get screwed because veterans have already put in a lot of credits in doing the trade-ups. Some of them were really close to crafting like a cobalt. We had like 5 golds, a couple silvers laying around, just needed a couple thousand credits to craft the final gold and then do the trade-up. And that is the thing I complained about yesterday because Splash Damage, they launched or deployed this update without notice. They noticed this with the like final results, the values for all the crafting stuff. I think it was Wednesday, the day before the actual update, and even like they tweeted out content update going live. They didn't give us any patch notes, which really sucks because we didn't know. I sure as hell didn't really expect the craft system to be part of this update so soon after they actually released the quote-unquote final results of values for all of crafting. So a lot of people get shafted by that because they didn't have the credits to trade up. If they had, they probably would have done it. I sure as hell would have done it. I was actually so stupid. I have traded up just before the update became live to 4 silvers, putting down 8,000 credits and what is that, 16 bronzes, which I really shouldn't have done because that's another thing. Currently, with the new craft system, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to craft silvers or golds unless you're actually going to plan and play with those cards. So before, if you wanted to go to a cobalt, you of course could trade up all of your crappy shit like the leads, irons and bronzes to silvers. From those those silvers you had a big chance that you actually could keep a couple that you really liked and then just make up those cards by doing a couple more trade-ups, and same goes for gold. Now that aspect of the game is totally gone with the new craft system because you can immediately go to the cobalt. And this really sucks because if you actually do want to craft gold and it turns out to be a crappy one, you not only are gonna lose a big amount of your fragments because you're not gonna get as much back as you put into, you're also losing 25,000 credits, which is just absolutely insane. That is a lot of credits, that's half a merc, just ridiculous. Before, if you had a crappy gold, you would definitely use it for the cobalt and everything would be fine. Now one thing that is actually pretty good about the system is, and a lot of people don't say this, or they haven't thought about it, or they just don't know, or I don't know what, but you can actually, of course now, if you get a gold and you don't really care about the high rarity skins, I know there are people around, definitely not me, but you can actually scrap that and make for fairly cheap actually a couple bronzes. So that is actually pretty decent if you do end up with some crappy cards and you do want to downgrade. That is now also a possibility. So when that system first came out, my biggest gripe was the insanely high trade-up costs, or the crafting fees I should say. I kind of have moved on from that, like yeah, that will be fine, I get those credits, but the main thing for me right now is that what I just explained, that you can't have those intermediate steps, making the whole crafting system in my opinion really redundant. It is, I don't know, it's really literally silvers and golds have no place in the game anymore, and the same goes actually for irons. Yeah, they're nice to get, but you wouldn't want to craft those. Bronzes, yeah, they have a place because they are fairly cheap, they have all of the augments, all of the weapons, and of course cobalts have a place because that is the ultimate goal of crafting your favorite loadout into a cobalt. Now of course they also kind of screwed again the paying customers by increasing the chances and the odds of the case values by a pretty large amount actually. Just imagine if you bought a couple cases last week, you really got fucked. Not only are the odds just a lot higher period, but also now you have the event, which of course that's always a gamble, but I don't know really. With flash damage it seems like they do first and they think later. I don't know if this is Nexon kind of breathing in their neck, telling them that they should release content faster because they are seeing numbers drop. I don't know that, but I think that is pretty much the problem. Honestly, I think Splash Damage, the developers, they seem like great people. I'm pretty sure like most of them have a passion for the game, but they really kind of get held back by Nexon, which is of course the publisher, so they kind of make all of decisions money-wise. So a couple of solutions, small solutions I have, because of course you can complain and complain and complain. First off, why do you need this system in the first place? They would have been much better off just fine-tuning, tweaking, maybe reducing the prices a little bit with the old trade-in and trade-up system. People complained that it was really tedious to craft leads into bronzes and silvers because it took so many clicks. They could have an option where it said craft all leads into irons. This it's gonna be that much amount of credits, whatever. I'm fairly certain they could have easily done something like that. Would have definitely been a lot better. So that's my first thing. Now the second thing is to, at least this would kind of solve the problem for the paying customers, at least the premium cases, the expert and the elite cases, is to, what I've said before, include the crafting kits with every purchase of a bundle. I wouldn't really know the exact values, how many you would get, but at least give you something, even if you get extremely lucky, let's say 10 elite cases and you get 10 golds. You know, that's a 1 in a million. You would still need 50,000 in-game credits in order to craft it to a cobalt, and you would actually need those 10 golds, because with 10 golds or 9 golds and a silver you wouldn't have enough to craft a single cobalt. So my solution would kind of be throw in a couple crafting kits. Even if they are extremely lucky, they will still need it, and if they are experiencing super bad luck, so all silvers, they at least have something still for them money. And in my opinion the best system would be to kind of calculate a price based on the stuff that you put in. And I know I've said this before, but this would solve the paying customers because those put in like the highest rarity cards, so they would only need to pay a couple thousand credits for the cobalt trade-ups. The veterans as well, because they already have spent an insane amount in the trade-up fees, so now they only have to put in a couple thousand credits to do the crafting. And actually the free-to-play players players would get the benefit from this, but only very minor, because of course they don't really get too many golds and silvers, so for them the price would still be fairly high and almost the same as it is currently, just a little bit cheaper, also making them a little bit happier. Though, like I said, again, the new players, I think the system for them is pretty good, and that was kind of their goal, to make it a lot more easy to craft to a cobalt and also a lot simpler and cheaper, and that's, I think, definitely the thing they have accomplished. By doing so, they definitely eliminated any use for irons, silvers and golds, and I think that really sucks, especially that you now can't do those intermediate steps. Literally, like I said, crafting to a silver or gold is absolutely useless, because if the card sucks, you're stuck with it. You can trade it or you can scrap it again, lose an insane amount of fragments and credits. Possible solution for this would be to have an option to either for a small extra credit fee to re-roll the case, and then you wouldn't have a chance to get that exact card, so you kind of get 2 chances for just 1 craft fee. I think that would be fairly good, or the ability to immediately scrap that card for, let's say, 70% and 100% of the credits. So 70% of the fragments, 100% of actual crafting fee, or maybe a little bit less actually, but just to a point where you can actually, where it is viable to make a couple golds, maybe just test your luck if you get a good loadout, but you wouldn't lose as much fragments and credits. So those are kind of my ideas, opinions about the craft system. I have to be honest, like, I disliked it in the beginning like hell. I kind of see a use for it, but it definitely needs a lot more work. Like I said in the previous video, I will definitely use it for scrapping leads and irons and then immediately going for that cobalt, though that will take an insanely long time, just because the amount of fragments you get from leads and irons is pretty low, but also understandable, because of course cobalts are still really rare, and that is the main thing. They are now even more rare just because it takes more cards to craft to a cobalt. So that was basically this video. Please leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one.